Hi everyone, this is Amsterdam Comic Geek. It's been a while since I've made a video. That's because I've been busy on my other YouTube channel, which is in Dutch, about comic books and such as well. But today I wanted to show you something from my collection, and that's a little self-published book by Peter Pontiac, who was a Dutch illustrator and comic book artist, and he lived from 1951 till 2015. Until he died prematurely, basically because he was very ill. He made a book on death. He tried to make a book on death and his struggle with death, but he died before he could finish the book, which is a tragedy. But he was a very nice guy. He made a lot of illustrations during his lifetime and a couple of comics. Most of them were autobiographical, and he was a self-taught artist, so he didn't go to art school or anything. He just taught himself how to draw, and he was one of the best draftsmen we had in the Netherlands. And this little booklet is basically illustrations he made about Amsterdam. And since my channel is Amsterdam Comic Geek, which is my name, my real name is Michael Minnebo, but this is Amsterdam Comic Geek, the channel, I thought I'll show you some of those great illustrations Peter Pontiac made. Now, Peter Pontiac, of course, is a pseudonym. It was not his real name. I'm not going to share his real name because that's not really relevant. I always believe when people have an alter ego, so to speak, like a superhero identity, I don't want to disclose their real name. It's not important. But Peter liked the Pontiac cars, the American cars, so that's why he chose that as his last name. Now, as you can see, this is a typical Dutch interpretation, or a typical interpretation of Amsterdam, with the Dutch wooden shoes and the traditional clothing. And it's basically Amsterdam with the Amsterdam the tourists know, with the hookers and such. And here are some of the tourists, as you can see. And some of the locals maybe who was pissed off because it's so crowded. And I just want to show you a couple of things from this booklet. I bought it from Peter himself when he was at an art fair. And this is one of the illustrations he made for Lambiek, which is one of the comic shops. It's the oldest in Europe, I think. It's 50 years old, 50 plus years old, and it's in the city center of Amsterdam. And this is the character Lambiek from Suske en Wiske. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that in the United States, actually. But Peter did a lot of illustrations for that comic book shop. I interviewed Peter twice as a journalist. Once when he got an Oeuvre Award. He's one of the few people in the Netherlands who got that award. And once when he had an exhibition in the center of Amsterdam. He was a very nice guy. And I've spoken with him also on a regular basis when we came across each other at the comic book shop or somewhere else in the Dutch comic book world. And he was a very nice guy, soft-spoken, and I think he was a great artist. With a good feeling for detail. And, he also did kind of these cartoony things, as you can see. And one of my favorite illustrations he made, this is the red light district with the former mayor of Amsterdam. Now, this is a fun strip. He did. Robert Crumb was here in the 1990s because his comics are also published by a Dutch publisher. So this is Crumb going into Amsterdam, and this is Peter drawing himself as a pencil, basically. And this is Dirk Jan. This is a Dutch character, but this is meant to be the publisher. So the Dutch publisher, Hansje Joustra. And as you can see, there's a lot of shit on the bridge while a blonde girl is cycling. And there's a coffee shop called Crump, which they visited, apparently. Although it was closed when Crump came along. So I thought you might want to see that. And this is one of the illustrations he made for the public transport system in Amsterdam. While one of its directors was going on his pension. This is also an illustration he made for the Dutch public transport system, the organization that does the Dutch public transport system in Amsterdam. Let's see what can. This is the reproduction of this is not that great because it's a small booklet. It's smaller than your average comic. As you can see, this is the regular book size. So the reproduction is not that great. Maybe we can see some. Peter did a lot of illustrations for a magazine called Mainline, which is basically a magazine targeted at people who use drugs. And it's not. Peter was also a user of different kinds of drugs. And he made comics about his drug use as well, back in the day. Like I said, he did a lot of autobiographical stuff. And just like Crump, basically, who we saw before. This is one of his old illustrations about the Real Free Press, which was an anarchistic publishing company back in the day. This one is made in 1980. So Peter made these small booklets of this work. Later they were produced in big volumes as well, but I like to buy these kind of books from the artists themselves. I think that's always good. But I just wanted to show you a couple of things to show you the artistry of Peter Pontiac. And this is another one showing where the comic book shop Lambiek was located back in the day, because now it's located more over here. Let me see if I got that right. Yeah, it's more around here nowadays. It's a new market. It used to be here in the Kerkstraat. And here again is the character of Lambiek. Look. That's just what I wanted to show you for today. This is a picture of Peter. This is what he looked like back in the day. Photo by Geert Broertjes. This is an interview article from the newspaper about Amsterdam and his favorite hangouts. Anyway, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Peter's work. If you are, let me know in the comment section. And I will also put a link in the description to an English page, biographical page on Peter Pontiac, so you can read more and see more of his work. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Cheers!